On sun-soaked corners in New York City and Fresno, California, two long walls wrap around modest buildings like a blank page turned into a living narrative. Here, the mural titled The U.S. Child Rivals Mural Project stretches wide, transforming concrete and brick into a living canvas of memory. Painted in bold strokes of black, white, gray, and rich shade of blue, the faces of current and former undocumented youth and their loved ones gaze outward, some in celebration, others in solemn remembrance, but all with a quiet dignity that commands attention. The U.S. Child Rivals Mural Project was developed in a series of phases, including two engagements that coincided with the Being Human Festival. First, painting sessions and portrait installations in New York City with students at Baruch College and volunteers all over the city. Second, a public lecture series hosted at Baruch College with several of the storytellers illustrated in the mural project, and co-facilitation of digital narratives by students with the storytellers in the mural as part of the Humanizing Deportation project. The stories elaborated are hosted via quick response QR codes on the mural with the purpose of having viewers interact with their stories. Lastly, painting sessions at Dream Centers in California's Central Valley, the Chicano Youth Center, and My Homie's Kitchen. Students from Baruch College traveled to Fresno, California to participate in the installation of the mural. The Being Human Festival phase of the project exemplified the values of ethical reciprocity and public humanities. By co-creating with storytellers and students, we fostered an inclusive process that honored the agency of those directly affected by U.S. immigration policies. The mural painting sessions and lecture series became spaces of collective reflection, mutual learning, and transformative solidarity. In the spring of 2025, the Black and Latino Studies Department at Baruch College was transformed from a traditional academic space into a vibrant painting studio. For several weeks, the department's lobby took on a new energy as students in my Reading and Writing the Archive course stepped into the role of artists and cultural workers. The usually quiet academic space was filled with the scent of paint, the buzz of conversation, and the soft hum of projectors casting images onto large cloth canvases. Floors were lined with brushes, jars of paint, and cups of water, materials waiting to become portals into lived experiences. This transformation was not simply about art making, it was about embodiment and engagement. Students who had spent the semester closely reading and writing about the stories of migrants, individuals who arrived in the U.S. as children, and whose lives have been shaped by both resilience and exclusion, were now visually interpreting these very stories. The act of painting became an extension of their scholarship. It was a way of honoring the storytellers, deepening their understanding of each narrative, and participating in a collective form of public memory. The process was structured yet deeply collaborative. First, storytellers sent me photos they preferred to use as a reference for the mural. Once the ideal image was selected, I drew each face on Procreate. The portraits of the storytellers were then projected onto large pieces of cloth canvas, and my students worked together to outline the figures with precision and care. These sketches were then filled in by using a paint-by-numbers methodology, a technique that made the painting process accessible regardless of previous art experience. The grayscale colors and blue tones predetermined and carefully selected helped bring depth and emotion to each face. Once the portraits were fully painted, they were varnished to protect their surface and enhance the richness of their colors. The final step before installation involved cutting the images from the canvas, preparing them for their journey from classroom to public wall. On site, each painted canvas was carefully glued on the wall, completing its transformation from private study to public mural. This immersive learning environment pushed students to engage with the course materials in a tactile and emotionally resonant way. By painting the faces of those stories they had studied, students developed a deeper sense of responsibility and connection. They learned not only about migration, displacement, and resistance through text, but also through touch, color, and collaboration. The mural became more than a project, it was a communal act of remembrance and visibility. For many students, this hands-on experience reinforced the power of storytelling, the value of public humanities, and the importance of centering marginalized voices in both academic and creative work. Tucked along a weathered brick wall in the heart of Bushwick, Brooklyn, a neighborhood known for its defiance and layered histories, a striking mural came to life on May 5, 2025. This evolving piece of public art, still in process of completion, is not just a mural. It's a reclamation of space and narrative. Here, on the gritty canvas, stories of current and former undocumented youth are boldly rendered in black, white, grayscale colors, and piercing gold, transforming the street into a site of witnessing. The mural rises defiantly beneath a tangled web of wires, security cameras, and aged red brick, a symbolic backdrop for a work that confronts the surveillance and marginalization that so many undocumented youth live under. From behind the black iron fence, the faces stare back, unapologetic and unafraid. Angel stands front and center, his hoodie bearing the bold words, "Deport Racism," in bright yellow, transforming clothing into a manifesto. Around him, others gather, America, Kimberly, Delma, and Carolina and Regalia. Shared, Amelia, and Krista expressions hold both tenderness and tenacity, while our anonymous storyteller invites you to think and reflect on the vast stories that remain silent. The details on their faces tell of battles fought in silence and victories claimed through education, organizing, and survival. Each portrait is painted with reverence, their likeness immortalized in their shared act of memory. The golden letters "Undocugrad" stretched proudly across America's stole, affirming what society too often denies, that this generation of immigrants are scholars, leaders, and contributors to the fabric of the nation. The mural isn't finished, and that too feels intentional, a reflection of the unfinished story of immigrant youth in the United States, whose futures remain uncertain in the crosshairs of national debate. Bushwick itself is no stranger to waves of migration and gentrification, and this mural speaks directly to the neighborhood's shifting landscape. While luxury lofts rise around it, the wall becomes a place of grounding, an intervention against erasure. It draws passers-by into conversation, asking them to pause, to look, and to consider who is seen, who is valued, and who gets to belong. In the parking lot of Fulton Studios, under a stretch of open sky, the Fresno mural turns a wall into a witness, bearing testimony to the lives so often erased, now made boldly visible for all to see. The faces appear in a flowing line, each one a story rooted in struggle and resilience. An anonymous storyteller reminds us again of the many stories pushed into the shadows, while Shared's face boldly turns towards the future. Beside her, Faye Hernandez beautifully represents the act of blindly dreaming by embracing who you are. Carolina, a fellow scholar draped in a doctoral gown, stands firm. Her academic regalia represents defiance against borders that try to hold her back. The multiple robes and sashes represented in the mural, highlighted in radiant blue, punctuate the mural with the pride of accomplishment. Each face is unique, some filled in with tender detail, others left faceless, not out of absence, but to represent the many unnamed whose stories mirror those on the walls. There's a grandmother, her hair tied back beneath a broad hat, her gaze steady and full of years, leaving you with her beautiful smile. Her presence evokes generational strength, the grounding roots from which these youth grow. Two small children, US born, stand tucked into the scene as symbols of innocence and the legacy of migration. They are reminders of the future this mural fights for. They are the children of the undocumented, whose stories echo those affected by parental deportation. At the far right, the words "honoring our own" hovers over the portraits. The mural pulses with visual rhythm, all united through black flowy waves rooted from the ground. It is at once a monument, a tribute, and testimony to a generation raised in this country. In the political climate where DACA remains in limbo, and where the lives of undocumented youth hang in the balance of legal battles and legislative neglect, this bicoastal mural project asserts that this generation are not shadows or statistics, They are human beings with names, faces, and dreams worthy of protection and recognition. Painted by many hands, the mural is as much about collective action as it is about individual story. And in cities built by immigrants, the walls stand tall as testimony, inviting passers-by to engage. The portraits in each mural are accompanied by QR codes that link viewers to digital stories hosted on the Humanizing Deportation Archive. This integration of audiovisual testimonies and digital technology ensures that the mural is not just a static object, but an interactive educational tool that uplifts immigrant voices and invites public dialogue. These are some of their stories.
My name is Patricia Guadalupe Vasquez Topete. I am Tamaulipeca, and by the time you hear my story, I will not longer be living and residing in the U.S. As an undocumented immigrant for approximately 20 years and attaining DACA status for the last 8 years, I became restless and tired. DACA, a program which for many years has been in limbo and faced with uncertainty. This mujer has uncovered that her power is found within herself and that there is no system and no country that could ever take away that type of power. This power that I hold is a power granted to me by the power of all the mujeres from Tamaulipas that have come before me. And in order to honor these mujeres and my ancestors, I must now leave this American dream behind.
I know it took a lot for her to dial. Abuela swallows her aches because she is mindful that I have my own life to live. She doesn't know it's an honor. It's my duty. Her body is shrinking. I rub Vaporru on her back, her pecho, her arms, her legs. You're a good son, me dice. But it's not about goodness. It's about time. How fast everything is moving. It's about now, about savoring. It's life, this moment.
The U.S. Child Arrivals Mural Project has fulfilled its goal of amplifying the voices of current and former undocumented youth through community-engaged art and digital storytelling. Grounded in ethical and participatory methodologies, the project integrated personal narratives to illustrate the experiences of U.S. child arrivals, migrants who enter the U.S. as minors and have lived in this country with precarity of deportation. The U.S. Child Arrivals Mural Project set out with a clear vision to honor and amplify the voices of current and former undocumented youth who enter the United States as minors. Backed by the National Humanities Center's Being Human Festival and a PSC CUNY grant, the mural project exemplified a successful model of public humanities. It not only created a bicoastal public artwork, but also elevated the narratives of a generation we raised, fostered transregional solidarity, and challenged dominant narratives surrounding immigration and deportation. The project began with mural painting sessions in New York City at Baruch College, a mural installation in Brooklyn on May 5th, followed by painting sessions in California's Central Valley, and culminated with the installation of the mural in Fresno, California on June 14. Over 150 participants, including students, storytellers, and community members, contributed to the creation of the portraits that make up the New York City and Fresno murals. As part of the Being Human Festival, we hosted a public lecture series at Baruch College with several of the storytellers illustrated in the mural. Each invited speaker anchored the mural's themes and lived experience. The New York City face of the U.S. Child Arrivals Mural Project hosted one of the most impactful elements of the project. The in-person participation consisted of 4 distinguished storytellers, Feica Shumari, Shere Garcia, Dr. Rafael Martinez, and Kimberly Galindo, and their family members. Their presence brought depth, urgency, and authenticity to our lecture series and painting sessions. These sessions not only informed the mural's visual composition, but also energized a cross-generational dialogue about migration, belonging, and resistance. Together, these 4 storytellers embodied the goals of the mural project to humanize deportation and deportability through ethically engaged, community-based storytelling and public art. Their collaboration with CUNY students and community volunteers at Baruch College helped produce a series of painted portraits that were ultimately installed in New York City and in Fresno, California. Both murals will be available for viewing to the public for the next 10 years, echoing the harsh penalties of deportation that many immigrants face when exiled from the country they consider home.